Welcome to the channel, welcome to the channel, welcome to the channel, yeah. Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Kamaria, or Black Siren Creates, and this is probably one of my other favorite videos of the year. This is a flip through of my 2025 reading journal. So I had used something I had left over from a few years previous. It's a Kokuyo spiral notebook from Jet Pens that I had used, and I had some leftover paper, so that's how this 2025 shook out. It does like open and close, so I can like move the pages around if I want, or add pages or whatever. But we're gonna look through my pages and I'm gonna talk about it. So this was my books read tracker. Once I get past 100, I kind of don't care. So I did run out of boxes. But I read 167 books in 2025. I had a DNF library, but girl, I DNF so much, so there was no point. Like, I don't need to count how many times I DNF a book. I did all my reading goals. I wanted to read 100 books. I wanted to read more audio, which I did, and I wanted to continue using Storygraph, so all of those got accomplished. I did 100% of the Buzzword readathon. This is a readathon hosted by Books and Lala. Her name is Kayla. And I did 100% of that just because she doesn't care how you fill them up. As long as you fill them up, she doesn't kind of force you to do them in the month. So I could just look through at the end of the year and just patch them all in. Storygraph had an Around the World challenge, which I got like 6, just reading books from different countries. I got 6 out of 10, so 60%. This is my bingo board. I did 100% of that. Sorry about the camera work. I didn't feel like pulling out my tripod and stuff, so it's going to be janky and whatever. I did a Steeped in Black Literature from A to Z. This was like read books by Black authors and put in the title for each letter. I didn't really apply myself with this one, so I got like 73%. I think I'm missing like 6 letters. That was just this is books I want to, sorry, my child was just like, girl, stop. Anyway, I had like tried to write down books that I got like from recommendations from channels, but I didn't keep up with it. This was my 25 and 2025, and I also didn't keep up with it. I didn't read I didn't even get to 25 books. I just don't do that. I don't do far out TBRs. I don't do things like that. I'm a mood reader, so it just doesn't work for me to do it that way. These are my monthly pages, because I wanted all my stats by month, where I could just go to each month, back to back, and see what I read. Each month was a little different, how I compiled the data. I am kind of a stats nerd, so I like writing down my stats. So how many books, how many pages, what, genres were they? Sorry, my cat's playing with a cat toy, so you get that bell in the background. And like I said, in 2025, I had limited space, so I had to kind of work with what I had to work with. I did 9 readathons, so not one readathon a month, but I did quite a bit of readathons. I did 9 readathons and I think 4 book challenges. I don't really like pressure myself to do readathons. It's just something for fun. So if I don't end up getting all the prompts or doing all the challenges, I don't get upset at myself, because I'm going to read regardless. I might as well have fun doing it. And you can see as we got farther in the year, I just did not care. I didn't decorate as much. I didn't care. I did do the Black Blackaweenathon hosted by Lock Booktician, Bree over at Lock Booktician, and I did kind of the Blackaweenathon is kind of set up to take a few years to complete, and I finally completed it, so I'm excited about that. And hopefully, Blackaween makes its triumphant return, because I kind of rebelled and did Blackaween even though Bree had canceled it this year. So hopefully next year, after she sees how much love there was for Blackaween, she'll, come back. But we'll see. I did have a little shelfie. I don't really do shelfies, but I had one just to show, okay, these were my ultimate favorite books of the year. And then because I had limited space, I just did collages for all my top favorite books of the year. I usually do a collage for every single book, but I just didn't have the space for it in 2025. This is Immortal Dark. It's by Tigist Girma, and it is kind of dark academia, black vampires. The main character is unhinged and annoying, but in a good way. There's a lot of world building, though. There's a lot of things that go in there. But when I read that, it was like, oh, perfection. Everybody's black. It was just refreshing that everybody in the story was black. The second one came out, and I have to reread the first one because I tried reading it and I just was a little lost. So I have to, but it's 500 pages. So I have to kind of read Immortal Dark again to read the second one. Some of these are sequels or books in a series. I read Heavenly Tyrant. I read Adrift in Waters Clean and Clear. I read a duology, Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents by Octavia E. Butler. Octavia E. Butler is my favorite author of all time. Rest in power. But I still have a couple of her backlist books to read, and so I picked that, and let's just say it's a very timely book. This was a part of a series by, I think this is by Sarah El Arifi. Yeah, Sarah El Arifi. So I was happy to return back to the world. This is also a romance, like Red, White, and Royal Blue, but if the countries were holidays. So Christmas, Easter, they're all kingdoms. And this was about the Prince of St. Patrick's Day and the Prince of Christmas falling in love. And I like this one better than the first one. The first one was the Prince of Halloween and the other Prince of Christmas, because there are two brothers of Christmas, two princes of Christmas. So it's the second brother's love story, and I prefer this one to the other one. Another one of my favorites was Under the Dragon Moon by Moss Hanlon. This book literally had every single thing I could ever want in a story. It is perfect. There's disability representation, there's POC, person of color representation, there's trans, there's mental disability, everybody is queer, there's magic, there are creatures, there's a sentient house. It's really good. Go read it, please. It's on Kindle Unlimited. This was the spread I did for Sunrise on the Reaping. This is a prequel in the Hunger Games series. I'm always going to be a hoe for the Hunger Games. So I didn't like Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but I'm going to read anything in the Hunger Games series, and Haymitch was my favorite character. So this was a spread for my favorite romance of the whole entire year. It's single player. This just also has a lot of representation, just showing what it's like if you're a non-man in the video game space. There's a non-binary gender queer character. It's slow burn. It's queer. It's delicious. It's got representation. It just ticked all my romance boxes. And even though it took us a lot to get to the spice was good. It was also just kind of a perfect non-traditional queer story because you usually don't get like good representation in those kind of stories in traditional publishing, so it was nice. Great. This was a thing I did for Dragon Fruit. It's basically Moana, but with dragons, and the magic system is really cool. The characters were really lovely. I actually shared my art on Instagram, this collage on Instagram and in a short on YouTube, and I actually had the author share it on her page, so I kind of fangirled. I usually don't really care about authors. I don't want to meet my authors. Like, I'm not one of those people who's like parasocial and weird. I don't really go to book signings or anything because I just like to read the stories. I don't need to meet the people who write them. But it was cool that she shouted me out, so that was nice. Sorry, I was babbling. I missed one babble. I was a little late to the babble party, okay? I do like R.F. Kuang's writing. I listened to Babel on audio, so I could hear all the different languages, and so that was really, really awesome. I enjoyed it. It was definitely top tier for me as far as dark academia, lots of representation. It was great. This was a duology by Adib Karam, Darius the Great duology. I like the writing. I like the slice of life. I usually don't read YA books very much anymore. I don't really like coming out stories either, but I really enjoyed this one. It was very slice of life. It had a lot of representation, mental health representation, being biracial, dealing with depression and things. It was a good time. I liked it. I enjoyed it a lot. It gave me all the feels. And then this was one of my favorites. It didn't hit my top tier, but I did really enjoy it. It's What the River Knows. This was basically The Mummy if more people were not white. It had a lot of like that yearning, the adventuring that The Mummy had. If you like The Mummy, you'll like What the River Knows. It's very good. Wife of the Gods, I loved this. It also didn't kind of make the top 10, but it's about a detective in Ghana, and he has to go back to his village to solve a crime, and it's kind of bridging the new school with the old school, and how much do you lose of your culture for colonization, but also just modernization. So it had a good mix of like old school, new school, and it's a thriller set outside the US, which I appreciate. This was a spread that I made for The Witch King by H.E. Edgmond. It's an indigenous author. It had trans rep. There's fairies, there's witches, there's, not lots of queer representation, talking about oppression and things like that. The first one blew me away. I tried to read the second one and it didn't blow me away, so I just paused it. This is something I had wished had been a trilogy and not just a duology, because I feel like the second one had a lot of ground to cover to kind of, wrap it up. And I just wish it could have been more drawn out, because it just felt like too much was cramped into one story. But the first one really I just loved it. It's basically, a trans main character who was fated to a, fairy prince, and he didn't want to be a baby making factory, so he ran away. But then his mate comes and gets him and says, hey, we need to do this, and it doesn't matter if you're trans, and he loves him anyway. But it takes a while. They're fated mates and they love each other, but it really takes a while for them both to get their head out of their butt and deal with stuff. But it has magic, it has magical creatures, found family, lots of queer representation. It's probably one of the most perfect fantasies in my mind. But let's go back to my stats page. So this is all of my 2025 stats. So I had 167 books, all those pages. These were my top genres. So LGBT, romance, and fantasy. I'm not really surprised that 68% of what I read was gay. But another 61%, I believe, was romance. Not surprised about that. And then 30% of what I read was fantasy. So that kind of tracks. I also like to track how diverse my reading is and have different categories. So 44% of my books were written by people of color. I wish that had been a little higher, honestly. I was shooting for 50%, but that could be a goal for 2026. I had pretty high disability representation. A lot of my books were written by trans or non-binary authors, so that's something that I kind of saw that was a little different than before. These are my top 2 authors, E.M. Lindsay and J.J. Mulder. They write a lot of romances on Kindle Unlimited, but they're male romances mostly, but they show a lot of disability and different bodies, different skin tones, different, limb difference. They're just more diverse than, I guess, your traditional male romance that kind of gets popular. This is my book of the year, Matrix. So I saw this layout on Jashi Corinne, one of her videos, because I don't really like the book bracket idea. Because you pick a book from each month and then they go head to head, kind of sports bracket style. And for me, that just didn't seem like an authentic representation of what my favorite book of the year would be. Because sometimes I have 2 favorite books in one month and then I don't have another 5-star, 6-star favorite of the year until 3 months later. So I feel like it wouldn't be accurate to just pick my favorite from each month, even if those weren't my favorite of the year. So this way, each book goes head to head with each other. So, I picked my top 10 favorite books, and then I had each go head to head, and whichever kind of shows up the most times or wins the most head to head battles wins. And I just think that's a better representation, a way to choose my favorite book. So you put each book in a slot. It makes this little pyramid type thing, staircase. And A goes against B, who wins? A goes against C, who wins? And that kind of thing. And so basically, my favorite book of the year was Parable of the Sower. Number 2 was Babel. And number 3 was Immortal Dark. Number 4 was Under the Dragon Moon. And number 5 was The Witch King. So those were my top 5 books. I'm not really surprised by any. I mean, I did a whole top 10. You can read yourself. I'm not surprised, but I thought Immortal Dark was gonna be first, but that's not. I'm not really surprised by kind of the top 5 at all. So that's just how that kind of broke down. But I just wanted to kind of see you. I could have done a whole video just of doing the Matrix, but I was too lazy and didn't set to film it. So, but yeah, that's kind of the top 10 favorite books. Picking 10 out of 167 was interesting. But that's kind of the flip through. That's the year. of reading at large. And I hope that you guys had a good reading year. And if you haven't, you can watch my setup for 2026 reading journal. And I will see you in the next one, guys. Bye.